Hi, it's Krzysztof from ISS Vanguard development team, and in today's video diary I'm going to walk you through the almost final rules of the shipbook. Now, shipbook is probably the most unique component in ISS Vanguard. It's responsible for a lot of what makes Vanguard Vanguard, for space travel, research, production, for managing your crew, for generating ship situations that you have to handle, for equipping your landers for missions, for preparing the planets and for cleaning up the planets after you've done. So a lot of game rules are laid out in a very clear way in the shipbook. And what you do in a single ship management session is you simply go through the shipbook from the first page to the last page, resolving all procedures. And because there's so much gameplay in here, it was very important for us that each shipbook procedure was extremely clear and understandable. And that's why we've spent a recent month working on the shipbook procedures with Paul Grogan and with many groups of both internal and external testers to make sure this unique component works in the best way possible. Today we're going to walk through it, and you're going to also have an exclusive first look at some of the new ISS Vanguard shipbook art. Now, before we proceed, there are two quick things I wanted to point out. The first is that all the components you are going to see today are still a work in progress, and while shipbook rules are close to final, many pages and card holders and cards are still handmade prototypes. So don't look too much into how they look right now. The second important information is that I will not be reading the shipbook word for word, and if you are interested in very fine detail of the rules, we invite you to read the full shipbook PDF that will also be shared with this update. Instead, this video will be a simple walkthrough that will show you how the shipbook works in a simulated ship management scenario. When you open the shipbook, the very first page is called Resuming a Saved Game. Now, we did experiment a lot with save spots in ISS Vanguard, and we found out that it's best if players have resuming rules on the very first page they open. And resuming a saved game basically checks your awaiting envelope for any cards that might be there, and one of the most important things it does is it builds your hand of available crew members. Now, as you progress through shipbook, you will be able to assign your crew members to many tasks. Assigning crew members works from your hand of available crew members of all sections. When there are many players, each has their own hand, but since I am a lone solo player today, I have my crew members laid out here in front of me. And this is it, resuming a saved game complete. The first page that contains real rules is the bridge. The bridge, in the first step, generates your command and energy pools. As you go through the shipbook, many decisions will be locked behind these tokens, and you get a limited number of them depending on your current location in the campaign, on your current morale card, and on your current tech level card. Now, some of you may remember the dials we once used to do. Now there are less resources to manage, and therefore they are represented with tokens. Energy tokens. My objective says two command tokens, so I'm going to roll with 2. Okay, so the bridge builds our pool of command and energy tokens. Then it asks us to install any new bridge upgrades. I'm again reaching to the awaiting envelope, because this envelope contains all the cards that are awaiting to be slotted into the shipbook. For example, whenever you gain a new project, a new objective, they Stay in this envelope until you're on a correct page in the shipbook and the procedure asks you to check for these cards and place them in slots. So, my new objective. And that's all. Now it asks me to check for any situation cards in the awaiting envelope. I have none. And it asks me to reveal new situations. According to our objective card, we should at this point draw 2 situation cards. These cards represent various events that may happen aboard ISS Vanguard, and if we do not tackle them until our next ship phase, they will affect Vanguard in sometimes pretty spectacular ways. Now, the situations I drew are madness and intrusive organism. And they are pretty bad, so I will have to think about dealing with them before I finish the ship management. And this takes us to Star Map, one of the most exciting places in Shipbook, because it gives you an access to an entire galaxy that you can explore, flying from system to system, studying various interesting objects, and picking a planet for your next landing. The first step of Star Map page asks you to open a System Maps book, and this book has a bookmark that simply says current system, and you open it in your current system and you work from there, making choices and deciding which places to visit, what systems to fly to. The first step of Star Map always ends with a new planet, either a new planet in your planetary scanner that you use to prepare for missions, or with a special penalty rule called Adrift that's also outlined on the same page. So, if you trigger Adrift, you essentially go back and you get a penalty and you start a new flying step that eventually takes you to explorable planet. So once you have an explorable planet, you progress to a second step of a Star Map, scan the planet. Now, the planetary scanner allows you to extract information about the planet that will allow you to prepare your team for unique dangers or threats that might be present. The planetary card will tell you, for example, what can you expect on the approach on the planet, and this will give you a hint as to which lander you should pick and what lander mods you should install on the lander. And if you spend enough energy or crew members, because scanner also works off assigned crew members, you will be able to retrieve all planetary information, including frequent roles and frequent biomes that you meet on the planet's surface, that will greatly help you tailor your away team to the task at hand. Once we have scanned the planet, we are closing the System Maps book, we are putting the scanner away, and we go to the next page, a ship facilities page, which is probably the biggest departure from first prototypes, because in first prototypes the ship book always had the same length. You triggered the same rooms in the same order during every ship management you had throughout your campaign. Now, in our final version of the game, ship facilities allows you to choose which room within the ship you want to trigger and to pay cost of activating them with command tokens. Now, what it does is, during your first ship managements, you will not be able to trigger all rooms, forcing you to make sometimes difficult choices. For example, do I want to increase my number of crew members by recruiting more, or do I want to conduct research, or do I want to deal with a pesky situation that I just drew? As the time progresses and as you get deeper into the campaign and you gain more command tokens, eventually you will be able to trigger all the rooms in a single ship management, but still players can use this new freedom to their advantage Because, for example, if you played through a very unfortunate mission where several crew members died and you want to catch up on your crew members quickly, you will be able to trigger barracks twice in a single ship management, something you wouldn't be able to do before. Or if you're falling back on research, you can also focus on that. Or if you think that, for example, situations are really not that threatening during this ship management step, you can forego the situation room altogether and instead trigger some other facility that may be more beneficial to you. So the way it works is we have a very nice outline of ISS Vanguard with all rooms clearly marked, including add-on facilities that may or may not appear during your campaign. We choose the first facility in the first step of this page. We choose the first facility to activate. We pay the cost and we go to this facility. Let's say I'm not really excited by those situations, but at this moment I have only 2 command tokens, so I want to spend them well. I think I will go to Research Lab first. I'll pay a command token. Research Laboratory, Develop New Technologies, page 8. We go to the Research Lab page, and Research Lab allows us to progress many exciting technologies. Some of them expand your knowledge of ISS Vanguard's world, and some of them lead you to new equipment, new ship modifications, new lander modifications, and even upgrades, bridge upgrades that will open up new areas on the in the current systems book where you fly ISS Vanguard through space. The first step of Research Laboratory, just like with many other pages, is called Install Research Projects. It asks me to take a look into my awaiting envelope and check if I have any new research projects that are waiting to be slotted. This time, no. This time I don't have any. So I'm moving on to second step, complete a research project. Now this allows me to choose one research project, pay its cost, listed cost in discoveries, unslot it, and resolve its text. Now the important thing to mention here is that research projects have keywords. For example, this research project has a keyword alien, and this research project has a keyword laser. So if I'm triggering a research project with a certain keyword, I can at the same time trigger any other research projects with the same keyword as long as I can pay their cost. So this again gives players options, whether we want to have this certain project faster or whether we want to wait for a synergy that will allow us to trigger 2 or even 3 research projects using just a single command token. I'm deciding I will do this nanotechnology project. I pay its listed discovery cost by moving my Gather Discoveries card back to the Discoveries deck. I read the lore, I flip it over, and this project grants me a lander mod, facility upgrade, and some equipment cards. Now I don't have all components with me today, so that's it for now. But as you can see, this project gave us some really interesting thing, and it's not over yet, because there is another option in the research laboratory. Now that I've triggered one project, I'm moving on to the third step, boost your research. This allows me to play off my hand of available crew members. If I manage to assign crew members whose converter icons match the card slots with the research projects, I could trigger an additional research. And let's see, I think I will be able to do that. Yep, Arrogator technology requires a gathering converter and a biology converter, and this is something I do have. So I'm deciding to assign those 2 crew members. They go to the resting crew space in my card tray, and I'm triggering the Arrogator technology project, which gives me a lander mod, a production project, more research projects, and equipment. But for now, let's cut this short and let's move on to the next facility. Return to the page 6 of the shipbook. Page 6, which is choose facilities. I have one command token left and I'm thinking of the best way to spend it. Barracks seem nice because I don't have that many crew members. I would always want more crew members if given the choice, but I'm really not liking the situations here. So I think I'll spend my last command token to trigger a situation room, page 17. We are now in the situation room. The situation room, as you can probably guess from its name, allows me to manage not only my currently revealed situations, but also the situation deck. The first step of situation room is simply solve a situation. So to recap, we have two situations that we drew during the bridge step of this ship management. The first one, madness. Now, I can't really tell you what it's about because it's one of the situations that go into the deck at a very certain point of the campaign, and the descriptions contain fairly heavy spoilers here. But if I do allow this situation to persist, in the next shipwreck phase, it will either lower my morale of the morale of entire ship, or discard one command token, which is a very hefty price. When solved, this situation will ask me to discard one discovery from gathered discoveries, and it will be removed from the game permanently. Some situations are removed from the game when you solve them, some return to the deck. This is fortunately removed, which means that if I solve this right now, I will not get to see that again, fortunately. And the second situation is an intrusive organism, which again is a situation that we earned by progressing the campaign. When ISS Vanguard made a decision to let crew members carrying a strange plague aboard, this added this situation to our deck, and if I do not tackle it in the ship management, in the next ship management, each section will move 2 available crew members to resting crew, which is again kind of bad because with fewer available crew members, I won't be able to assign them to various beneficial tasks. This card is shuffled back into deck when I solve them. So let's pick which one of those. I think I'll go with madness, simply because losing a command token is a really big penalty. So I'm choosing a situation, I'm applying it when it's when solved effect. This causes me to lose one gathered discovery, and this situation is removed from the game for good. And I'm moving on to the second step of the situation room. The situation room, in its second step, allows me to solve additional situations by assigning my crew members. And once again, as with all pages in the shipbook, the crew member convert icon plays an important role here. To solve any bonus situations, I have to assign crew members with icon that matches the icon on the situation. Now, intrusive organism does have a xenology icon, and I do not have any xenology specialists left, which means I cannot really do anything with this one. It will trigger unless I would choose another command token to trigger a situation room again. Unfortunately, I'm out of command tokens at the moment, so let's move to step 3. Step 3, Black Ops. This is an assignment that allows me to remove some situation cards directly from the deck before they trigger. It's a pretty advanced but pretty cool thing to do, so we will not be doing this right now, since I'm almost out of crew members, and the game very strictly prohibits assigning your last crew member of each section. Each section always needs at least one crew member at hand, because we might need them for a planetary mission. We move on to the final step, choose your next facility. We once again return to choose your facilities page, page 6. But this time I have no more command tokens to spend, which moves me from step 1 to step 2, ship management cleanup. And in ship management cleanup, I'm removing unspent energy. I now see that I kept the tokens here, even though I should have spent them when flying through space. And it saves my success pool, because success tokens, once earned on the planets, are also used by several ship management mechanics. And the final step of ship facilities, step 3, moves me to page 18, Hangar, because now that I'm finished spending my command tokens and triggering various rooms within ISS Vanguard, it's time to begin to prepare our next ground mission. We are now in Hangar. The Hangar is a place where obviously you pick a lander for your next mission and you prepare it with lander mods. As mentioned during the star map step, you will be able to reveal information about the planets you are going to land on, and this information can sometimes influence your choice of lander, of mods. For example, if I know that I will be landing on a planet that's covered in orbital debris, I might lean to take a well-armored lander that, for example, has less supplies and less space for my equipment. And if I know that the approach is clear, I'm probably going to pick a transport ship that's very vulnerable but also has an enormous capacity to hold my supplies, equipment, and mods. The first step of Hangar once again asks me to check the waiting pocket for any lander mods that are awaiting to be added to the Hangar. And I do have one, multi-directional thrusters. I'm adding this mod to a sleeve that holds all my lander mods. I'm checking if I have any new landers to add, but I do not. Currently all my 4 hangars are occupied because it is a shipbook from a late stage of the campaign. One of the landers is damaged though. I have no new landers to slot in. Repair landers. This is the moment where I can repair this lander. This will cost me 1 mineral discovery, which is not a very big price, so let's say I will pay the discovery and flip the lander to the undamaged side. Now, landers can get damaged in many ways. Failed planetary missions, failed landings, and sometimes the price to repay the lander can be pretty steep. So crews, you have to be careful with your vehicles. Now, step 4, choose a lander. Which would be the best for my mission? I think I can't go wrong with Faustschlag, our armored assault dropship. This step would place Faustschlag lander board on the table, and it allows me to customize the board with lander mods placed in its slots. Again, we have a good choice of mods here. I think on this mission I would go with heavy armor plating, probably external cargo pods to hold some additional supplies, and emergency broadcast system to have an easier way if things go wrong. Once my lander board holds all the mods I want, I go to the next page, mission launch procedure. And the mission launch procedure is fairly long, but this is a place where in most games you would have to take the rulebook out and perform a long complex setup of your board and all the components next to the board. Here we have a short condensed launch procedure that asks me to prepare my away team, to choose which crew will go on this mission, to choose equipment from my armory, to load the crew and the equipment onto the lander. And once this happens, I'm going to a special briefing log on the top of my landing card that contains a landing scene with some dice rolls, and that begins my planetary exploration. Some time has passed. Our away team has finished the planetary exploration. Now, it might not look like it, but right now in front of me I would have a planet board with all the decks, tokens, several crew boards, miniatures, and the final rule of each planet asks me to open my shipbook and to go to page 25, leaving the planet. And just like the shipbook helped me to set up my planet and to start off my planetary exploration, leaving the planet guides me through some short and simple cleanup steps that remove unnecessary tokens from the table, move the decks back to their card trays, and step 2 of leaving the planet, components check, double checks if everything that stayed on the table has a place on the table. After those cleanup steps, the third step sends me to page 26, docking. This is where the away team actually returns to ISS Vanguard. We check whether their mission was a success or a failure. We discard any excess discoveries because each lander has a load limit and we cannot take more from the planet than the load limit allows. We assemble our available crew members, and in this step, any crew members that were assigned before the mission are once again available. We begin new ship management and they are once again on the table. So if I spend 2 crew members, they now return to me. And we go to page 27, debriefing. Debriefing, once again, is a simple page with several simple gameplay steps. The first step promotes my crew members. If my crew members achieved their mission and if they have completed a task mentioned on their rank up card, they get a new rank. The second step moves the successes gathered on the planet to my success pool. Let's say we've gathered 3 success tokens on the planet, and adds any success tokens that we have saved in the awaiting envelope. So we have our success pool ready again. The third step allows us to buy or sell dice. As you know, section dice are probably the most important component for ISS Vanguard players, because these red, green and blue dice are used to perform all dice checks in the game, and every action during planetary exploration is made during those. So in step 3 of the briefing, I am able to buy new dice as long as I have enough success tokens. And now it sends me to page 28, unloading. Unloading is where any discoveries brought from the planet on the lander are slotted in the card holder. I'm slotting all my unique discoveries. Some of those discoveries can have special when slotted abilities that trigger story elements in the logbook. Some of them have some other results, like for example, this unique discovery would give me a research project, which I'm not going to look for right now, but I would get a research project here. And unique discoveries have a special rule. When you gather all unique discoveries in a single row, you gain a special ship upgrade mentioned next to the row. So the first step, unload unique discoveries. I did that. Unload other discoveries. Non-unique discoveries simply go to gathered discoveries space in my tray. Gain bonus ship upgrades. It checks whether I completed the row. I did, and it grants me a ship upgrade that goes to the awaiting envelope. And finally, store the lander. Now that the lander is unloaded, we store its board. We no longer need it, and we proceed to page 32, Medbay. Medbay is where we treat our wounded crew members. All crew members that took part in the mission and have some injury cards, let's say these 2, are slotted first. All crew members currently in the Medbay recover, which means they do move 1 slot to the right. And any injured crew members that came back from the mission are slotted, depending on how many injuries they had. And of course, critical injuries means your crew member will not be available for 2 full ship managements unless you assign some other crew to help them heal. Once the crew members are slotted in the medbay, once we did the survival checks, because every time you slot someone into critical injury slot, you do have to perform a survival check to check whether this crew member lives or dies, we go to the next page, the memorial wall. Now, if the crew member dies, they go here. The memorial wall is a place in the shipbook where we can memorialize our fallen characters, and as a consolation prize, every time we slot a new deceased character in the memorial wall, we gain a small bonus. So step 1 of memorial wall memorializes my dead crew. Step 2 cleans up the crew boards, because once again, in ISS Vanguard, every component is removed from the table precisely at the moment where it is no longer needed. And the crew boards up until medbay contained my crew members and injury cards. Once crew members were moved from the crew boards and injured crew members were moved in the medbay, we no longer require crew boards, so they go off the table. And now I'm sent to the final ship page of the shipbook, the save point. Now, at this moment, I have completely cleaned up the planet, and I have performed all the tasks related to my mission, such as slotting injured crew members in, ranking up the crew members that did rank up. So right now, I have no more things to do with the components on the table, and I may save my game, return my crew members and any tokens to my awaiting envelope, record my current planet board if the planet board if it is still possible to land on this planet, and then close and store the shipbook. And that's it. The next time I will be starting my game, I will be starting from page 1. Resume the saved game and go through all these steps again. So, in very general broad terms, the main way in which ISS Vanguard campaign is played is I'm resuming a game, I'm checking my objectives, my tech level and morale, and I'm installing my bridge upgrades. I'm using star map to fly through space, make decisions related to which places to visit. I read up on those places in the logbook, and I find another planet to land on. I spend my command tokens to trigger some facilities. I may research projects. I may manufacture additional equipment and mods. I may go to barracks to recruit my new crew members, transfer existing crew members, or train up my raw recruits. I can visit a situation room to manage situations. I'm then, after facilities, I'm sent to Hangar to pick or repair and equip my lander. Then the mission launch procedure fills the lander tray with equipment and everything I need to begin my planetary exploration. Then we begin the planetary exploration. We play through the planet. We go to leaving the planet. We are docking back with ISS Vanguard. We go through debriefing and rank up. We unload our discoveries. We slot our injured crew members into medbay. We memorialize our fallen, and we save our game. And this is it. This is how ISS Vanguard shipbook works. And if you have any detailed questions about how specific procedures work, we once again invite you to read the full shipbook PDF and to check out this new rule set prepared in cooperation with Paul Grogan, and to leave your comments under the update. Thank you very much, and I hope see you in another Dev Diary.